We all have suffered through something. Suffering is definitely in this world everywhere. Maybe you've sat in a long line, you're waiting to go buy something, or even waiting for anything. You're just sitting in a line, you're slowly dying inside, or maybe you're sitting through a boring class and you're just like, what is the teacher even talking about? You just are done. Or maybe you're even waiting for your food to get done. You're sitting at the microwave, just watching it go. You're slowly suffering inside. That's not really suffering, that's just kind of inconveniences. Real suffering is maybe you've gone through the loss of a loved one, or maybe you've gone through a mental or a physical pain or physical suffering, like maybe you suffer through depression or anxiety, or you could even broken your leg and it hurts so bad and you're suffering, you can't walk. There's that type, but there's also just suffering in general in this world. Like there are kids that can't eat, or there's places where there's no clean water, or the Holocaust. There's big wars, and then there's discrimination against people, like the Holocaust. There's all kinds of suffering in this world, and why? Why is it in the world in the first place? It seems like it's like so hard, and it makes the world a worse place. Why is it in the world, and why does God let it happen? I want to tell a story of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, you might know one of his poems, or it was a poem that was turned into a song. You might have sang it at Christmas time. It was called I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, or Christmas Bells. And I'm sure the most recognizable line is peace on earth, goodwill toward men. I'm going to show the poem here. The story behind the poem and his story is absolutely amazing, and it's a good representation of suffering. He went through so much, and I'd like to just quickly tell the story. So Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, he had his first wife, and he was happily married. It was amazing. Life was so good. And then she got pregnant, and I'm sure they were ecstatic. They were so excited. But sadly, she died giving birth, and the baby died as well. Can you imagine what he was going through? I can't imagine the pain and the suffering that he was going through that moment. His wife and baby died. But he kept going, got through it. And years later, he met another lady. And it was like one of those things where it was like love at first sight. As soon as he saw her, it was just, oh my goodness, this girl, she's the one. And they got married. And then they had 5 kids together. And he was happy once again. Life was amazing. Life was great. Even though that things happened and he suffered through all of that. He got through, and life he was at the other end, and he had sunshine. Sadly though, one day, his wife, for reasons unknown, her dress caught on fire, and she was burning. And as she was screaming, he heard her, and he came in and saw his wife's dress was on fire, and she was going through all of this pain. So he tried to put it out, and he got it out, and eventually, he got it out with his own body somehow, and they both suffered through injuries. But she sadly did die. She didn't make it. And on top of that, his injuries were so bad that he couldn't make it to her funeral. After that, his suffering and sadness was so real that he thought that he would eventually have to be put in an asylum, because he just thought he was going to go crazy. That's how much he was suffering. So he kept going, praying and trying to get through this, just suffering. All of this has happened. And on top of it, his son, Charles, it was around the time was around the war between the states, and his son went against his wishes and went secretly and joined the Union. And I'm sure that would be heartbreaking, that your son just left. And then he came back and he got injured really bad. He got shot in his side. And the doctors were saying that he was going to be paralyzed for the rest of his life. Can you imagine that? Your first wife dies, then the baby dies as well. Then your second wife dies, you can't go to her funeral, and then your son, the doctors are saying he's going to be paralyzed. Wow. Can you imagine that? How do you get through that? But something beautiful happened. It was Christmas morning, and his son walked. He couldn't believe it. He was ecstatic. He prayed for this, and God came through. And there's something cool about the Christmas Bells poem. He wrote, "And in despair I bowed my head. There is no peace on earth, I said. For hate is strong and mocks the strong. Of peace on earth, goodwill to men." He wrote that, and I'm sure it connects to what all that happened. He was at his lowest, and he thought there was no peace in this world, and he was just suffering so much. But then, the last stanza of the poem, "Then peal the bells more loud and deep. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail. Of peace on earth, goodwill toward men." There's something cool if you pay attention about that last stanza. God is not dead, nor doth he sleep. The wrong shall fail, the right prevail, with peace on earth, goodwill toward men. Through all that suffering, and then when that his son was able to walk again, he saw that God came through, and he just couldn't help but praise him. So through that suffering, he grew closer to God. So I think through that suffering, we can grow closer to God. Here's some Bible verses. These are a couple that address suffering, but there's a couple of the ones that are on here that I would just want to read. First, Romans 5:12. "Therefore, just as sin entered the world through one man, and death through sin, and in this way death came to all people because all sinned." So this verse is saying that suffering, death, came into this world because we sinned. It's a consequence of what happened in the garden with Adam. But there's other verses that can encourage us through suffering. "Therefore, in order to keep me from being conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me." 2 Corinthians 12:7. So sometimes suffering comes into our life because there's something like wrong with us. Like maybe we're very prideful and we're just thinking about ourselves. Sometimes God will send suffering in our life to humble us back down and make us come back to him and realize we need him. And it was good for me to be afflicted so that I might learn your decrees. Psalms 119:71. That shows that through suffering we can learn about God. We can grow closer to him. That's another reason why suffering is in this world. So through these verses, we can see that our sin is why suffering is in this world in the first place. But God will give us strength to get us through our suffering. Suffering makes us grow closer to God. God allows suffering in our lives to humble us and make us realize we need him. Suffering makes us stronger in our faith, just like it did with Henry. Suffering teaches us things that we didn't know before. The Holocaust. This is something that people ask a lot. Why did it happen? Why did all that suffering happen? It was complete anti-Semitism and discrimination against the Jews. They suffered. If you look at these stats, it's crazy. 6 million Jewish people were killed by the Nazis in the Holocaust. 2.7 million were murdered in killing centers. 2 million were murdered in mass shooting operations. 800,000 to 1 million were murdered in ghettos, concentration camps, and labor camps. 200,000 were murdered in the other acts of violence. All of those deaths and sufferings on those people for no reason at all. Why did this happen? This happened because, number one, we sinned, and because of our sin, it gives us consequences. Now, though it is sad, it's just what happened. And also, God does give us all free will. Because of that, God couldn't stop Hitler from doing that because we all have free will. So that's why the Holocaust happened. So in conclusion, suffering is in this world because we sinned. Sin ruined our world, causing suffering, hurt, and pain. God gave us all free will, so we can never blame suffering on God, ever. And also, suffering benefits our lives and relationship with God by so much. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy this speech. And remember that suffering is in this world because of our consequences of sin, but also suffering helps us. Thank you.